Hello there and welcome back to the channel. This is Andy at Blender Evolution. Now then, a couple of weeks ago I uploaded a few videos about building lightsabers using hard surfaces and booleans and arrays and stuff like that. And I had set myself a little challenge, which was over the course of 1 hour build a lightsaber from scratch. And essentially days 1 and 2 looked a bit weak, but by day 5 we had this one. And I did say in that video, if people wanted a quick tutorial on how to build their own lightsaber, then let me know. And what's happened is we've had a couple of people say yes, they would like to hear how it was done. So sit back. This one's a bit of a long one, but hopefully you'll pick something up from it. So if you haven't hit that subscribe button, please do. And if you do enjoy this video, please like it as well. So thanks very much and enjoy. Okay then, so starting off with our regular scene, let's just scrap everything we've got here, get rid of the default cube. Where they go, nobody knows. And what you want to do is start off with your basic shape. So lightsaber is a cylinder. I tend to find that 6 centimeters diameter is about right, so I've got 3 centimeters radius and about a foot, so 30 cm in length. There we go. That's probably quite a bit bulky. That's that a bit. Yeah, I'll tell you what. Let's make it slightly longer. 4 meters. There you go. It's probably about the right kind of aspect ratio for a lightsaber. So now that we've accepted that, I didn't bother changing any of the other details in there. If you just want a general outline. And what I find as well actually is when I get to the stage I actually have next to no idea how this is going to look, so let's just make it up as we go along. So first thing you want to do is go to edit mode and let's put some detail in this. So let's add, where's my link color? Let's put that there, let's put that there, and let's put one down here and one down there. And what we're going to do is we're just going to very quickly move these around, so GZ, up we go. Yeah, let's do it that way. Yeah, go on, why not? Let's make this up as we go along. Don't want to do that. Oop, I've made a mistake there, you can see there. I completely forgot. Watch, there's plenty of undo buttons here. There we go. What I forgot to do is press that button there. Let's do that. G Z, let's put that up to about there, let's put that one G Z up to about there, and we'll do with you two, G Z down to here, and G Z down to here. So this just generally marks out our areas of detail. I'm sure there'll be plenty of people who watch this and go, why on earth are you doing that? There are plenty of other ways of doing it, but this is the way that works best for me. So let's scale this. Bevel on there. There are, as I say, there are plenty of ways of doing bevels. I'd like to do them personally by hand. And then let's put a little bit of detail on here. So you click E for extrude, scale straight away, and that's what gives you this detail here. Extrude again, bring it in. Let's look down into the barrel, and this is our kind of light emitter part, so let's E scale again. And what I like to do now, instead of extruding up, I like to go G, Z to grab and bring that up a little bit. It might be helpful to have an interior view to give you an idea as to how this is looking. I think these are little details that people don't really see. In fact, let's take this, the little details that you know are there. So if you're serious about building these, you know, little things, little details that are just there to make it a bit more satisfying for yourself. And then let's do another E, scale, bring that in, and then we bring that extrude again, and that's it. And you probably won't see this because what we'll do is we'll illuminate that so that'll glow. We might put a bit of chrome or something a bit more shiny on the inside so it likes to bounce a little bit. But that's kind of detail. We don't need to muck around with that anymore. If we go into here now, Oops. What happens when you use another program? The buttons all move around. If anyone else finds that. There we go. Let's do some bottom bits here. So what I'm doing up here actually is I'm selecting between the vertexes, the edges and the faces. So if you want to do a face and scale, bring that in. What I'm also doing, you probably won't see, is I'm clicking Shift and Z. What that's doing is it's preventing scaling in the Z direction. Okay, so little things like that. In fact, we may do away with what we're doing down there, but just as a general outline, let's continue. So we might just drag these down. Yeah, we're on see-through, GZ, or transparent mode even. GZ, let's bring that down as well. And yeah, what I might do is do some more loops. Let's do that. It's around here somewhere. Face. Oops. Yeah, that'll do. What do I reckon? What do I reckon? Let's drag with that one up to there, and let's have one down here. Yeah, let's do a couple of these. There, so that's up to the bottom of that. Well, actually, I can see what I was going to do. Z. Let's put that Z as well. What we're going to do is drag this whole surface in. Z down to here. So that will go in, that brings our face in there. Let's do another loop cut. There we go. And yeah, I'm happy with that. Make sure you're in that mode. Zoom in and GZ. Just bring that into there. What you can do now, switch to faces mode. What you can see there is I've selected that in the line, so that will be the bottom of our lightsaber. This will be our kind of handle area. Might tidy that up a little bit, but what we're going to do now is we're going to scale that again and just bring that in like that. Again, there are hundreds of ways of doing this, so this is probably not the most efficient way of doing it, but it's just a way of doing it. There we go. Let's do that. Oops. Actually, it helps if you click the button. GZ, up you come. GZ again. Let's GZ the whole lot. Let's move that up to about there. That's looking pretty good now, actually. And let's highlight these, and we just do the same again. So we just scale it in to about there. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to look right. And to be honest, the only people who are going to tell you if it looks perfect or not is really yourself. I mean, it's your creation. You're mucking around with it. Certainly, what I do with mine is I don't really worry too much how other people think of it, as long as you're kind of satisfied at the end of the day. And there we go. Let's bring these. I don't want to do that. GZ again. Yeah, let's do that. Let's tighten that right up. GZ. Don't want to make it too sharp. I quite like the fact that there's a bit of a chamfer on it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Right then. So that's kind of your general outline. So, or straight away, it looks lightsaberish. Let's turn that back onto there. So that's kind of where you're at. So the next thing we're going to do now is we're going to start putting a little bit of detail into this, and a couple of tools that we like to use are Booleans, arrays. I'm going to we're not going to muck around with mirrors. We can use mirrors. Another trick is solidify. So on some of my lightsabers, I actually have a little blade out there. I tend to just have a cylinder, slice that down, and then I just solidify. But let's not bother too much with that today. So let's cut some edges into this. And the way to do that is make sure you're in object mode. A number of times I've done this in edit mode and gone, oh dear, that doesn't look right. Absolutely lost count of it. So let's bring that right down. And what we're going to do now is we're creating an outline to slice. So X, let's drag this, oops. I'll tell you what, that's why it looks a bit funny. So that's about right. We can always move this around, we just want it a general right shape and in the right location. So let's go to edit mode, and what we're going to do is grab these bits here, GZ, up like that, GZ, down like that. That's something, straight away, again, what did I do wrong? I didn't turn transparency on. So now we've got this weird shape that we're dealing with. Click that button there, there we go. GZ, another GZ. Cool. Something we could have done actually is I could have left the cube in the center and then I could have just done a mirror. Actually, let's do it this way. Don't need to do array. I could just do this GZ down, GZ up. We'll leave enough room for a little button there. Okay, that's not looking too bad. What we're going to do next is we're going to come out of edit mode. So yeah, object mode down. Hit this way. Much more simple way of doing it. Go to mirror. Let's use mirror. Right, about 2 minutes after saying I wasn't going to use mirror. So what I did there was I've mirrored this cube, or trapezoid as it is now, and I've used the center of the lightsaber as kind of the center to go by. So what we've got is two sides that way and that way, and essentially if I leave this here and I go G, X, you'll see that they both move out the same. And they'll do that right up until the point, they'll be completely mirrored right up until the point where I accept it. So I'm going to do that for now. I'll accept that, apply it. So you see it's vanished, that's it now. Can come out of it by hitting the undo, but it's essentially, that's done now. And what we're going to do is, you could start manipulating this so it's not quite symmetrical. In fact, you know what, let's do that. These are now two parts. Essentially, what we do to one isn't necessarily going to happen to the other. In fact, let's keep that. Let's put that to there. Let's create a little bit of offset. Drop that down a little bit more. It's quite like a little bit of offset. Okay, and then we go back to object mode. Go back to your lightsaber cylinder shape, and now you hit your Boolean. Okay, so if I hide that, essentially what you've got, let's turn off transparency, that's essentially what we've sliced out. And what that's going to be is, that's going to be the grip. So I think we're happy with that. I'm going to just, there we go, just accept, apply. And there are other things you can do with Booleans. You can add shapes together, so you can get some very complex, weird shapes just by adding them all on. I tend to use it more for difference and just wiping bits out. So now we've done that, we are not going to need, I have to bring that back into play, I'm not going to need that, let's just delete that, I don't need it anymore. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add another cylinder. This one we're going to make a little bit smaller, so we start at 0.3, if I made that 0.25, see what we'll do in here. Let's put to the side. bring that down a little bit. Is that still within? That's still within. Yep, happy with that. And we just generally accept that. That's going to be the actual handle grip part. Although I think what we'll do is we'll put some rings around this. Yeah, and give it a bit of a grippy feel. As I say, if you're doing this yourself, you feel free to do whatever you like. I'm keen to see actually if anyone does follow this, what they actually come up with. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to add, we're going to use the array and we're going to add a grip down here. So I'm going completely at random here. I find the best way of doing it is by using the torus. Now, if you've followed any tutorials, then you will be aware of the torus. Thank you, Blender Guru. You introduced us to the world of donut making, and of course I think everybody who is in any way marginally serious about learning Blender has done this course and has created the famous donut. So major radius, that's essentially this radius here. Minor radius is the radius of the inner tube. So we're going to want something pretty small. Let's try 1 millimeter. Pretty small. That's a bit too small. 2 millimeters. That's a bit more like it. And of course the ring's got to come right down. I should have taken. This is where taking notes helps. Really does help. 025. Okay. Actually, that is pretty much bang on. What we want to do is we want to put this edge here, the major radius. In fact, yeah, I seem to remember it being 25 millimeters, so that it is flush on the surface of the handle part, and that's not too bad. And let's just try and let's see what happens when we make it 3 millimeters. That's possibly a bit too much. I think that's possibly a bit too much. Let's make that 2.5 millimeters. You know, I think that's a happy medium, that one. Okay, so now we've done that, happy again, and let's look to the side. And what I want to do is I'm going to hit G, Z, and I'm just going to move it up to about here. You could move it there. Bit of a cheat. Is it inside the boundary? Turn off transparency. Yeah, that looks fine. And then what we're going to do is add a modifier. You don't want to go in Z, you want to go, sorry, you don't want to go in X, you want to go in Z. You go -1. Let's just increase that slightly. Again, it's all about feel. You might end up just thinking that it just doesn't quite look right. The beauty about this is that you can do all sorts to it before settling. That's not too bad. We are, oops, 1, 2, 3, 5, 10. There we go. There's something. Don't know if we want to drag that out. That's fine. It's fine. Let's not muck around with it too much. Okay, we could try and drag these sides in, but actually, you know what? That's fine. Okay. So let's just have a look and just do a quick critique. This looks a bit wide now. I mean, when you judge it against what's going on down here, that's quite a bit wider. So let's continue mucking around with this for a little bit. What's going on there is I've still got that selected. I'm satisfied. You don't have to accept these straight away. You can accept them. You don't even have to accept them. You can just leave them there. If you want to do booleans, you do need to accept them. Otherwise, it's not gonna render right unless you use transparency modes. But for arrays, you don't really need to be worrying too much about it. There we go. So scale, Shift Z, like that. I'm actually going to scale in Z now. So what I did there was S and Z. Is that going to look a bit weird? You know what? That's given us an option. That's given us an interesting. Let's do it. Let's just do it. Who cares? 1, 2, and 3. Have I gone one too far? You know what? It's fine. It's fine. That's that one there, and you know, let's move these. I wonder what happened. Let's have a look. Let's just see how it would look. Scale out. Nah, I'm not keen on that. Edit, undo. Let's have a look. What we can do there is we'll switch back to area. So scale. Don't want to go in the Z, so Shift Z and just out you come. You know what? No, let's do it properly. If we're going to do it, let's do it properly. Let's move these up to there. Let's put another loop cut in there. Let's just tidy this up a little bit. It's a bit mucky, that really, isn't it? Sad. I'll just tidy this up. And what we're going to do there is we want to do extrude, scale, Shift Z, that's about there. Actually, you know what? Let's do that. Let's do it properly again. Oops. 1, 2, extrude, Z, and out you come. Let's scale that back a little bit. Let's turn that off. Yeah, actually that doesn't look too bad. There are far more precise ways of doing that. I've just kind of done that a bit ad hoc, but yeah, so that's starting to look pretty good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start adding a bit more detail down here. I think what we'll do is we'll slice some bits out. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a mixture of array and Boolean. So let's go to the side. Now this one's a bit more tricky, but object mode, and we're going to go A cube. Let's get it about the right size, and what's the Z? Put it about there. Yeah, that's about right. Now, and here's the tricky bit. This one took me quite a while to, even though I was watching the tutorials on how to do this one actually took me quite a good while to figure out where I was going wrong. The number of times I've screamed at this screen. So what we do is in this mode, you've got to be in edit, G, oops, to be in transparency, G, and it's Y. Going about there. Fact, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go back to object mode, add a, no we're not, we're going to go straight to edit mode and select, just select all, just control R, put one right in the middle, undo that, great, look underneath, and what we're going to do is go to the mode and delete faces. Back to object mode, We're going to create a mirror. Watch it's about X. That's great. Turn clipping on. Edit mode. So what we do here will be mirrored across to here, and you'll see why we're doing that in a second. So zoom in, and we want to go to these points here. Y, X even. Bring that in. Again, this is entirely personal preference. G. Right up to about there. Let's see how that looks. Doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to look right. You can see there that I think we've got a slight. Actually, no, we are over the line. So what we're trying to do is we're going to cut out segments. What we want is we want them to be equal. So let's just go out of object mode. Happy with that. Apply that. What I also like to do is take a copy of that, and what we're going to do now is we're going to create a empty. An empty in, plain axis, Z is that, and off you go. So what that's done is put an axis system in there. That's really just something for us to coordinate around. It needs to be at the same Z as the center of this object. When we go to our part now, let's turn off transparency because that's a bit annoying. That. Yeah, we're quite happy with the way that looks. Modifier, array, turn off relative offset. What a relative offset does is it just moves it in X or Y or a combination that way. We want to do object offset, and I can click here. That's empty. Let's just look underneath. Let's say we want 4, 6. I reckon 6. 6 cutouts. And I'll just press the R button. That will give you an idea as to what's going on. So actually, it'll look something like that. Now it's 6, 30. No, it's not. It's 60. So when we go back to this part here, you have to accept the array yet. Can do is hide that, and that's essentially what you've got. That's that lightsaberish base going on there. So it actually doesn't look too bad. So cool. All right. You know what? I'm happy with that. I'm going to apply that straight away. Of course, you could spend forever on this. Just get it right. Alt H. Ah, there you go. Ah, interesting. Edit, undo. Yep, actually helps if you accept the Boolean. Always accept the Boolean before you start deleting other bits. There you go. Thank goodness for undo. Don't need that anymore. You can delete that. So yeah, that's the basics of how to build a lightsaber. Of course, you can spend hours on this, days on this. Let's just do this. Let's shade smooth. As soon as you hit shade smooth, that horrible thing happens to it, and a lot of people go, "Oh my god, what is that mess? That looks horrible." Undo it immediately. But if you go into edge split, that's how you get this nice kind of sheen finish. I do that on pretty much every project I work on now. And same again, shade smooth. We don't need to worry about edges on that. You can't see any edges, so it's nicely hidden. And I think the same will probably do it there. Let's apply that. That's shade smooth. Yeah. So there you go. So that's your basic outline for a lightsaber. And then what we can do is that moves us on to texturing. Let's just bang a couple of textures on this. Let's give it a nice. In fact, let's go to look down mode. Helps if you put a line on that. machine, open it there. There you go. It's fine. Don't worry too much about that. And yeah, you can make this pretty much any colour you want, really. So the beauty of these textures is that you can make, as you say, any colour, any texture face. So the metallic. I don't know metallic, didn't I? And it's sad that I know this, but silver is hashtag COCOCO. Nice metallic look to it. Let's go and give it a bit of. I can muck around with the roughness if you like. Get quite a nice shiny finish if you like. It's entirely up to you. So what you can see there is as well actually is given this whole component this shader. So that doesn't really help this area in here now. To get around that, go to edit mode and we add another material. Let's put the blade in. Let's put the light in. Go on that one there. Just straight for emission. Let's go on. The best lightsabers are called green, aren't they? Put one in there. Yeah, go on. Let's just do this whole face here. Green. If I can get into it to see it. Okay, that cancelled my selection. Weird. There we go. And then when you've selected your faces, hit assign, and there you go. Now then, do stick in the Eevee mode, put your bloom on, do that as well. Crank the volume up a little bit, so let's make that 50. There we go. It's starting to come to life a little bit. Okay. But edit mode. Let's change the colour of these. As I say, you can do anything you like. Let's add another colour. Make this one black. Got that switched on. Make sure you got that switched on. 1, 2, 3, and just again assign. In fact, let's do gold as well. This is where I'm going to show you a magic trick. Oops. So if you go to a bodied colour, look, and let's have a look around here, explore. This is a great website. If you're looking for colours, it's fabulous because I just type in gold. It'll take me to all these. It'll eventually take me to all these colours. But they also give you the hex code. The hex code is brilliant, especially when you can just hit copy like that. Now let's just pick one. Let's pick one at random. Select, add. New colour, exit, and just let me do that. So, and hit assign again, see how that looks. We might keep that, might get rid of it. Then let's go to this one. Now the hand is, let's just make that black for now. And these, let's make these silver as well. And if you're like me, you'll have a thing for emissions. In fact, that we don't really want that to be metallic, do we? So what you can do is, if you've got metallic elsewhere, in fact that's interesting, because that's not cranked up to metallic then. It's probably not cranked up either. Let's just crank that up as well. There you go. Actually, that looks much better already. I'd actually quite like I quite like that, actually. That's quite cool. But we don't want to do that. What we want to do is we want our new one. If I come out of that, let's make it again black. And let's see. We'll rough this up. It's about playing with textures. Probably not such a bad idea. What should we do down here? Now, personally, I'd have been tempted to, yeah, let's do that. Let's edit mode to the side. Okay. That's transparent. There we go. And let's go wild. Let's go crazy. Area, surfaces even, give it the emission, and then hit sign. Might want to change that. Don't have to do that. That's just something I quite like doing on these. Gives it a bit more character. More. Oh yeah, we forgot a button. So let's put a button on this. Mesh, circle, cylinder. We don't want it particularly big, probably about 1 cm radius, 1 centimeter in depth, whoops, 1 cm again, and let's put it up to about here, where are we? On Y, and the rotation 90. Okay, and cylinder. That, oops, G, about there. Go to that one, makes it a bit easier to work with. Edit mode. So again, it's E scale and G, so go E, you don't want to move it, scale, so it creates a new face. E again, push it in. E scale again to bring another line in, but this time you want to go G and it's X out to about there. And there you go, without too much hassle, that's a button. Go back to object mode, shade smooth. Immediately looks rubbish, but first thing you do is just go to your edge, and there you go, you've got your edges back. Let's see if we can push that in a little bit. G, X, bring it in. There you go, it's not coming through those. Brilliant. Okay, quite happy with that. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go to color. Let's make it black. In fact, let's put that back on. It's not on the top, black, is it? Or do we want to make it gold? That's the thing about this, we can play forever. So I'm keen on a gold button. Go back to your metallic one. You know what? No, it will look better when we've done with it. Oops, one. Go back to edit mode. And what we're going to do is very quickly create a new emission. So straight away, go to emission, and I'm going to make it red. And what we're going to do this time is we're going to go to that one. What I'm doing is pressing and holding control, So it's selecting multiple faces, but it's seeking them, so I'm not having to do shift select all these faces individually. That's good. And then we hit assign. And let's crank that up to 25. It's a bit too much. 10 maybe. Is that too much? What do we reckon? So it's there. What should we do about this then? What should we do about this? It's almost too metallic there, isn't it? I think you could probably put some detailing around there. Okay, not too bad actually. You know what? Let's just add a little bit of detailing. Yeah. It's not looking too bad at the moment. Actually, that is bothering me on the bottom. That's bothering me. Okay, let's go back to that one. Edit mode. And what we're going to do is we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's what happens when you let go of control. Ah, no. Shift. We should have been shifting all this time. It's back from the last part that went in. And it's, yeah, it's all the way around. Do that. Hit assign. What's happened here is that is still, yeah, so let's just get rid of this. Interesting. Tell you what, let's just check and just make sure there isn't anything a bit weird going on. So what we're going to do is very quickly put camera in. Camera. 0. Just very quickly pump out render. So that's how it looks at the moment. Zoom camera to the view. Okay, put camera mode on, and that means we can just do that. Just make sure that artifact isn't still there. No, not there. Cool. Okay, I'm happy with that. Let's take it out of there. Don't need to see the camera anymore. Hide that. Go to the side. And let's just do some detailing up here. I don't know. What do we reckon? Let's do some more Taurus. Now, the good thing about this is it does remember your last settings. So what we can do there is come up to here. It's free cm. Okay. Let's array into 0 and -1. Put that to first. There we go, that's immediate. Ooh, crikey, that looks a bit horrid. Let's just hide that. Ooh, yuck. Split that on. Yeah, what's happened there is it's garbled the mesh a little bit. Turn that off, turn that back to there, turn that on. Okay. I'll have to leave that for another day. And delete that. Let's do it that way. Yep. Object mode. Oops. Edit mode. That's points even. Choose Z. Bring that down a bit more. There we go. Let's see how that looks. Okay, so let's just turn that. We'll go to that mode, that mode, that mode, and what we want to do now is just go around here. Let's assign it black. Take us out of edit mode, put it back in object mode. Can't really see it. So the only thing really left to do now, just to make this complete, is an actual blade. And the way to do the blade is you start with a cone. Cool. You bring its radius down. It's probably about, what? Won't be 3 centimeters, probably about 2 centimeters. And you certainly want to change that to 1 cm. And what we do then, now I want to make that 2 centimeters even. Crazy, let's make it 3 centimeters. And then what we want to do is we want to move it, oops, towards the cone, GZ, move it to about here. Let's just align that a little bit. Look down on it, so it's scale, and I want it to go to about here. Okay. And what you do is you go. The lightsaber blade is usually about 1 meter. So you want to go GZ1. About 1 meter. Doesn't look particularly great. And GZ.5. Yeah, that's probably gone a bit too far. So GZ minus 1.5. Try that again. GZ 1.5. There we go. That's probably a bit more like it. Okay, so what we do now is we click our cone and we go to edit mode, select face, now that face, in fact let's turn that off, just want that one, go to side view, back up, and we want to go EZ minus 1, oops, wrong, do it again. EZ. Just want to drag that down. GZ. There we go. To about there. So about there. Transparent, and it doesn't really matter if it completely joins up, just GZ, in you go, job done. And then what you want to do is you want to go to object mode and then just give this probably the same as the Lightsaber Emission. So that's what you're left with. 50 might be a bit much. 30. Cool, and then all that's really left here to do is just quickly create a scene. So let's put a plane in. Great, look good. GZ, move it down. Scale it up. Let's give it a new one. What I like to do is have a little bit of glossiness about it. So 0 is pretty much a mirror. A bit of roughness in. What we can do is switch over to cycles if you like, where things come to life a bit more. To the side, and let's just hide. Let's delete that for now. So rotate that away. Let's make it 75. Oops. 75. Right, cool. From there. GZ. Bring it right down. Over here. Back on. Control C0. And that's not looking too bad at all. So, you could straight away see, actually, if I was to render this, turn your GPU on, 28 is probably going to take a while, let's crank that down, render that. So rendering GPU or CPU, they look a bit small. If I turn GPU on, there we go. Render image. Do that again. Immediately see the difference with the rendering now. Okay, so it's already it's not looking too bad, but this doesn't really look very inspiring. So what we can do is we turn that off. We go to Compositing and use nodes. Put that to there. Immediately add a bit of there. What we also do is add a viewer as well. So that's streaks mode. Fog glow is typically the one to do. I like to turn that down a little bit. Sometimes I find the lightsaber a bit too much. You'll see there's a little bit of noise there, so let's do a denoise. Cleans it up. There you go, straight away. It's a good little preview of that. If you don't use it, then highly recommended. And let's just render this again. Doing its thing. Give it a second to compute. There we go. So that's not looking too bad. Spent quite a bit more time sorting this out, maybe adding more detail to the lightsaber. If that's something we like to do, is in fact, let's come out of that view, go to the side. So we do that to. Oops, no, don't want to connect that. Just want to connect that. We'll rotate it by minus 15 degrees, so it's pretty much level. The ground, and what you can do is you can go to shading on this one. Actually, what I want to do, I'm going to do this. Let's add. What we've done there is we've copied it. Go to shading again. What I'm going to do is we're going to make it vanish and appear. Why not? Let's do it. So it's a mixed node. On the transparency, if we zoom in here, I do that, you suddenly see it disappears. Yeah, cool. it's fully on, it's 0. Sorry, if it's a 0, it's fully bladed. In fact, let's do it the other way around. There you go. And then it's fully on. Let's put this to cycles EV. Get a little bit easier to see when we do play around with this. You want to switch alpha clip on. There we go. So now it's completely vanished. And let's put a. Got rid of my earlier light source. I just want a point light. Z, up you come. So now we're in even mode. Let's render that image. Cool, okay. Not very inspiring, that background. Let's drop that a little bit. There we go. All kinds of little textures you can add to it as well, but we're not going to do that in this little tutorial. What I'm going to do now, though, is I'm going to change the viewer to timeline. Timeline. Go back to the cone. And go there. Is let's create just a very quick animation. So let's go to 50. Do enter the time, insert keyframe, and 50. I like to do it, say 52. Drop that to increase to 1 even. Insert keyframe. Let's make it 100. And then let's go up to about here. 98 even. We just typed it in there. Insert another keyframe, and then it's 100, and then drop that down to 0. Insert keyframe. What we've done now is if I go back to layout mode, I hit the go button. There we go. It's now on a loop. So that's very simple animation of your lightsaber. You can go a little bit further. You could actually have the camera panning around. In fact, you know what? We've got a few minutes. Let's do that. Let's pause this up. Take us out of camera mode. And what we're going to do now is, well, first of all, let's have a look at what the image render actually looks like. It's pretty good. Let's put a curve, a circle. Go to about there, I think. The camera, best bet is to delete the camera, new camera, there, and what we're going to do is we're going to link that camera to the fault path, there, cool, follow curve, it immediately does that. So what we need to do is just quickly adjust it. Oh, it's not easy just to do this. There we go. Okay, and then we go to this. Go back to 0. Insert keyframe. Just 1, and then just call that 100. So keyframe. So what happens now? There you go. Very simple animation there. Let's do some stuff with this. Let's where's me in the circle? So I want to do. Let's come out of the viewer. I'm going to scale that, I think. Control Z. Follow that around. Pause that. It's not quite right about that angle. 90 degrees. Whoops. Minus 90. Undo, undo. Okay, so there's a couple of things I'm going to note straight away is that the lightsaber is no longer lighting up the ground. That's because we're in EV mode. The light from emissions are just not going to reflect off surfaces. If I pause that there, now I was to go to cycles, so you can get a much better animation. Those are just little things to bear in mind. But essentially that's how you very quickly build a lightsaber. So yeah, hope you learned something from this. I think we did a couple of extra things in there that I didn't originally plan to do, but I thought, hey, why not? Let's do it. So yeah, that's it. That's pretty much it. And just remember the basic tools on this one were booleans, arrays, mirrors, and yeah, that's pretty much it. There are probably 100 better ways of doing it. There's certainly box cutter methods of doing things like this far more effectively, far quicker as well. If you want to get into doing more complex things with these, this is just a very quick, very simple lightsaber put together in about, well, that took about 1 hour to do, from absolutely nothing to an animation. You can spend much longer on these, probably spend days on these if you like. Certainly on the textures, I just kind of threw textures on here. If you look to some of our other stuff, certainly things like Demon Saber has a lot of texture into it, and I'll put a link to that in the descriptions. But essentially, that is that's your lightsaber. That's your basic outline, and whatever you do from that point in is entirely up to you, really. So yeah, if you make your own lightsabers, please do feel free to put a link in the description, comments below even. And yeah, it'd be really cool to see what you put together. So I'll just leave that running. And that's pretty much it. Cool. Okay, so here's the final render. As you can see, I've changed a few things. I've added a bit of subdivision for the plane, and then added a displacement modifier with cloud texture to give it that kind of weird, cool sci-fi feel. Apologies for the jerky camera work there. I need to work on that. But if you made it this far, thank you. You are awesome, and please do. If you haven't subscribed to now, please do subscribe and like. We've got more stuff in the works. So until next time, this is Andy, and thanks very much. Cheers. Bye-bye.